morning, everybody. I'm Laura, and this is my house, my garden, my flower bed. Now, I'm not a professional, um, but I have been taking care of flowers for a long time. I absolutely love flowers, so I kind of know a little bit about what I'm doing. But I want you to know that I'm here today to show you how to repot some plants. Now, I have these Gerbera daisies right here and here, Gerbera, Gerbera daisies, which I love those flowers. Well, I bought them close to Easter, put them in these cute little pots, but they're kind of getting big and they really need to be in a bigger pot. I had this one laying around, so I decided I'm going to just go ahead and move those into this pot here. And so I'm going to show you what you're going to need to do this. Now, of course, you're going to need dirt, which I use an old pot to scoop because I just hadn't bought a scooper, which I need and I'd love to do, but every time I go to town, that's not a priority. And some rocks, this is just a little bit of rocks out of my gravel driveway. These are, just broken up pieces of something, little pieces of concrete. And I'll show you why you need that in a minute. Gloves. I love to be in my yard. I love to be in my garden. I love to work with my plants, but I don't like my hands dirty. Call me crazy. Plus, I don't like bugs. I do a crazy dance if a bug gets on me. Certain ones especially, and I'm not going to tell you which ones because somebody's going to come at me with one. But anyway, okay, and your bigger pot. Now this is really pretty big for a Gerbera daisy because the Gerbera daisies, their roots don't get a whole lot, But I do like my big pots, and I do like full flowers. And a lot of times, in my research and studying, it'll tell you to just put it in a little bit bigger pot and let it grow and then repot it again and repot it again. I've never done that. Now, what I do is I see a pot that I really like, and if I have a little small plant like this and I want to repot it in something like this, I repot it in something like this, and before long, it's taking up this whole pot. I don't repot and repot and repot and repot. I just go ahead and put it in a big one and be done with it. You may not like that, and you may not like the look, and probably the reason they say that is because it looks small for so long, and it's not taking up the entire pot. But really, in all honesty, what I've noticed, it does not take my plants long, and they're big and full. And I don't do a whole lot to them. Of course, you have to keep them watered here in South Mississippi every 2, 3, 4 days, something like that. Sometimes mine will go a week and a half before I say, you know what, it's time to water my flowers. Now, your pots. I bought this one years ago. Yes, it's dirty, but it's going to stay in my yard, I bought this one several years ago. You can buy dollar store pots. The dollar store pots are very pretty, and yes, they are a lot cheaper. But let me tell you the problems that I have had with dollar store pots. When you go to put a hole in it, now a lot of times a better pot at a better store already has a hole in it. You just kind of knock it out a little bit, or it's got a rubber stopper in there, or the hole is just the hole. The dollar store pots that I have bought, they have a little place where you're supposed to knock the hole in it to where it can drain, but when you go to knock your hole in it, it splits the whole stupid bottom of the pot. That is not fun. Then you've got a split bottom pot, which I go ahead and use anyways because I've already invested in one. In fact, I've got a flower over here to my left. You can't see, but it's in a dollar store pot. So in other words, it will have to be repotted into a better pot eventually. But the hole in the bottom of the pots, the reason that I have these rocks, you want your pot to drain, and sometimes your dirt and stuff will stopper up the holes, and then your water is going to fill up in the pot, your pot and soil is going to come out, and your roots are going to start showing, and it's just a bad mess. So what I usually do is I put down some big rocks in the bottom, kind of around the hole. And it's okay to cover the hole some with those rocks, because the deal is, it's not, it's still going to drain around the rocks. Plus, the Gerbera daisy roots, it's not like they're going to be in trouble with those rocks on the bottom. So I just kind of arrange them in the middle. And then I got rocks, it's gravel out of my driveway. And I just kind of dump in there and pour around. That kind of makes for some aeration, and it also helps it to drain. Then I put dirt in my pot. Now, what I do is I put the dirt usually kind of about halfway up, and then I take my plant in the pot that it's in. When you get your plant from the store, it's going to be like this. And if you wanted to repot something like this in here, you would use this. And actually, if you have a plant that comes in something like this, I wouldn't put it in this. But a smaller one, yeah. But what you do is you take your pot and you set it down in there. And you keep adding dirt until you get to the point where the pot that you have is, kind of just a little bit above the rim. That way, when you pull your flowers out, now it depends. Now these may come out and break away. If they do, you can just keep adding dirt. But you want to set your pot in there and make the dirt to the point of where your pot is sitting and your flower looks good at the top. Because when you take your flower out, it's going to be that size. And you don't want to put your flower way down in here. You don't want your flower down inside the pot. You want it above the pot to show. Now, this is where one of those scoopers will come in handy. Like I said, I've never bought one. I've never invested in one. But as much as I repot stuff, I really need to go ahead and invest in one. Now, these ferns, I don't know if you can see the ferns behind me, and in a few minutes, whenever I'm through with this, what I'll do is I'll take you on a walkthrough and show you the plants that I do have here at the house. And that way you can kind of see the different plants that I have. Now, I know this is crazy. Okay, now when you're gonna pull your plant out of your pot, you don't just jerk it. Now, if you have a pot like this, you can kind of push on the bottom, and that helps. And you grab your whole plant around the base of it, and you just kind of wiggle it until it comes free. You can't just pull the entire thing a leaf at a time, because then your leaf is going to break off, and then you're going to have some problems. You don't want to do that. So as you're getting your plants out of your pot, like I said, when it comes from the nursery and it's like this, just push on the bottom and wiggle it free. Now, I have had some that were root bound. In other words, they had taken up all the dirt. It was just roots all the way around. The roots were coming out the bottom. And I just slice into this where one of the holes will be. I slice it all the way up and just break it off all around, and I cut it, I cut it off with the plant if I have to. But always, you have to grab your entire plant at the base and carefully wiggle it free, because you don't want to break your plant. You don't want to break the leaves off. Now, I have this set pretty much the way I want it set, and I have set the plants on top of the dirt that's in here. Now what I have to do is I have to fill in the dirt around these, all just up to the rim. Now, if you have bark or pine straw or anything like that you rocks, whatever, pebbles that you want to decorate, then don't fill it with the dirt. Put your dirt on up a good bit and then fill it in the rest of the way with your mulch or whatever you're gonna put to decorate. But I always use just dirt, because like I said, the majority of my plants stay out in my front yard, so that's not a big deal for me. I don't do mulch because out here in the country, I really don't want to have to go and buy mulch every couple of months, honestly. And, you know, if you have the real pretty mulch, you have to do that pretty often. Now, you fill in the dirt around your plants. Now, sometimes if your plant is what they call root bound, you have to gently pull the roots a little bit out and kind of loosen them up. And, you know, what I'll do is I'll do another video before long, and I'll find me a root bound plant, and we'll repot it and show you what I'm talking about with the roots. So I just fill in the dirt until it's even with the base of your plant, which will pretty much for me be just about to the rim of my pot, pretty much to the rim. You know, if you get it all the way to the rim, sometimes when it rains, it's, you know, it kind of splatters over, and that's not going to hurt anything, but make sure you get around the edges where your plants are. I kind of tap it down a little bit, just a little bit. You don't want it packed. You know, you still want it kind of loose dirt. Now, and I'm messy. I'm messy when I cook. I'm messy when I do anything. So there's my repotted Gerbera daisies, and I'll take a picture in a few weeks of them, if I can remember, and show you what they look like. Now, what I was saying about the ferns in the background, back here, I got those ferns I got from my church in Meadville. We had them sitting out at the front, and our church closed, and our pastor and his wife went to move to another church and everything, and I asked them about the ferns, and they weren't going to be able to take them, so they said just go ahead and take them. And they were smaller. They weren't tiny, but you know, they're really big now. Now this right here that you see is a hibiscus. It was very small whenever I got it, but this is the perfect spot for them. I have also learned that in Mississippi, South Mississippi, when a plant says full sun, it does not really mean full sun in South Mississippi. Pretty much verbena and lantana will grow on the side of the road in the gravel in the full sun, but that's about the only plants that I've found that, you know, do okay in the full sun. But a plant will thrive better, it has been my experience, especially these shadier loving plants. Now a Gerbera daisy, I think that it says full sun when you buy a Gerbera daisy. And see, there's a bug, but I'm mashing him because he's going to eat my flowers. But all the plants that I have pretty much get a little bit of morning sun and a little bit of afternoon sun, and that's it. They're pretty shady the rest of the day because they can't handle the full sun. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a walk through and show you the different plants in my garden. But until next time, I will find a plant that is root bound, and I'm going to show you what you do to a root bound plant when you repot.